Hello, everybody, and welcome into another Tribe Time Now podcast. I will be your host, Noah Gross. I am on Twitter at Noah_Gross27. And joining me today from Everybody Hates Cleveland, he's a writer there, Nino Cola. He's on Twitter at Snarky Nino. That's SNARKY Nino. Nino, how you feeling today after this postponement?
A little disappointed. We've only really had a few games this week, but other than that, pretty good.
Yeah, but the good news is it's rain, not snow, so that means it's kind of some more springy weather. So hopefully that comes our way. Obviously, rain's no good, but at least we'll get some games in hopefully sooner or later. So obviously, we've only had 4 games, 2-2 so far. I just want to start off with news that just came out today: the James Ramsey and Zach Walters trade. I want to get your reaction on that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that it's a package deal going over to Los Angeles, but um, on the surface, it kind of looks like they might be just clearing some space in the outfield because they are going to have to make some moves. I know we're going to talk about that, but they are going to have to make some moves in terms of their outfield. So I think that was kind of the goal there. I didn't see James Ramsey having much of a future on this team. Just kind of the way that they've been using him. Had the opportunity to see what they had in him last year and didn't really give him a look. So his time appeared to be really short. And then Walters is a little surprising, especially since what they've been doing with him and trying to see if he can fill kind of multiple roles, whether it was in the infield or the outfield. So just seeing Walters was kind of a surprise there, but kind of a disappointment too, because I think he had a little bit more to show than what he has been. Been injured here and there, and didn't really get an opportunity. But I think they definitely tried to clear some space in the outfield, especially with here and there, Chisenhall and Brantley on the way back. They
Nino, I think
get some people.
I think we get some feedback on your end, like double feedback, somebody talking twice.
Especially with here and there, Chisenhall and Brantley on the way back.
Nino, I think we get some feedback on your end, like double feedback, somebody
Not
talking.
sure what's going on.
You hear that?
On the way back. Yeah, that's strange.
All right. So. I don't know. If you have any like extra windows open, try to close them out. That's what I've been doing. Oh, I think I just got it. All right. So Damian said he can like cut some of this out. So obviously that's gonna have to happen there.
Yeah.
Just want to finish up it's gonna sound a little weird once that stuff starts coming back in, but like, do you know where like that's where you left off?
Thereabouts. Yeah, basically. Okay, yeah, I can. So yeah, Brantley, with Brantley and Chisenhall coming back, it seems like they're going to have to make some moves to kind of clear out some outfield space down in Columbus, and I think that's primarily the reason that they made that deal to clear up some room there, because they really only got cash in return, so it was more so for space than anything.
Yeah, I mean, I like the trade a lot because I didn't see much potential in either of these guys. Initially, I liked both the trades from the Cardinals, and I think we got Walters from the Asdrubal trade a couple years back. So this is bad talent evaluation. I liked Walters when he first came up because I love infielders, especially middle infielders that have some pop on their bat. And Walters clearly has pop, but his problem is he strikes out way, way, way too much. And Ramsey, did not see him going anywhere. He was approaching the time where he's getting too old to make his MLB debut, so he was kind of losing his time here with the Indians. The Indians front office is pretty clearly fed up with him. Like you said, especially with Lonnie and Brantley coming up, they're gonna need some young players to really, really get some at bats down there. If you just look at the lineup from the Clippers' fourth try at opening day today, like people like Robbie Grossman at bat, Lonnie, Joey Butler, all these guys, even some veterans that still have more potential than these two. need to get some at bats down there. So I like the trade. I didn't see much potential in really either of them, and it opens up some space. So I like it as a whole. And then let's start off with game one. I just want to talk about Corey Kluber's start. That was just an ugly, ugly opening day. And I actually want to get this out of the way, too. Do you consider the cold or the snow an excuse at all for any of the stuff that's been happening, whether it's like some of the pitchers losing control a little bit or the defense in the White Sox series, or do you think it's just like bad playing as a whole?
It's probably a little bit of both. I wouldn't entirely chalk it up to cold weather, but that's definitely not. Yeah, not to say that I've ever been a pitcher before, but it can't be easy when it's cold out there, and typically you have feeling in your fingers, and you don't have to worry about keeping your body warm because you're not. I mean, it's not like you're out there running around as a pitcher. For the most part, you're standing, you're throwing. So that I think plays a little bit into it. I don't. That's why I kind of try and not put a whole lot of stock into these first few weeks here, where the cold weather can impact, particularly pitching performances. And even like hitting, Kipnis said something about how it was really hard to swing the bat and make contact because it really hurt with the way that it was cold there on Tuesday. So a little bit of both. I wouldn't entirely say it's a built-in excuse, but it can definitely, I think, early on not dictate exactly what you're going to see on a more consistent basis.
Yeah, I'm right with you that it's kind of stinks playing in that much cold, but it's not really quite an excuse because both teams have to deal with it. In my high school season, we just played a game where about 30 degrees, and I remember I had an at bat where I couldn't really feel the bat at all. So it does stink, but if you get a handle or something, it's something you have to live with. Both teams dealing with it, so it's not quite an excuse. I want to talk about starting pitching though for a little bit here. We've obviously had Kluber, Carrasco, Salazar look very good, and Cody Anderson I think look good too. Mm-hmm. My biggest takeaway so far has been fastball command. Kluber, like I said, it was cold, so it's probably tough to grip the baseball, and it's only one start. But Kluber and Carrasco really, really struggled, at least it looked like to me, to locate the fastball, and that is job one for me. Obviously, ask Trevor Bauer. He struggles with that a ton. So it's just fastball commander for me. Those guys both struggled a little bit. Have you seen anything from 1 through 4? I like Cody Anderson's start a lot, especially going against Chris Sale, keeping us in that game. But what's your biggest takeaway from the starting staff so far?
I think it's more the same from Salazar, which is good to see. I think he's just going to continue to go upwards. Kluber and Carrasco, they're your veterans, so for them, just let them figure it out. I think it'll be fine. Kind of like you said, they just gotta kind of getting everything get more consistent through the rotation here a few times, get them a few more starts. I think they'll figure things out. Really, you have to be impressed with what Cody Anderson did. Just in all spring, I think we've all kind of seen and quietly watched and kind of we're getting excited here about seeing him and get this opportunity because he's definitely grown in more ways than one. In terms of what he's bringing to the table here. So to see him go out there in his first start, and I mean, really with the same conditions as the other three guys, look really crisp and look good in his first start. And like you said, kind of match up with the White Sox best pitcher. So definitely excited to see what we took away from Anderson in that first start from him.
Yeah, he was the pitcher I don't want to say most worried about, but most I wanted to see still because he had a lot left to prove. Tomlin's been up and down throughout his career, but he's a veteran, and I think when he gets in tough times, he can work his way out of it because he's really good at locating some of his off-speed stuff. So I'm okay with Tomlin, but I'm really happy that Anderson pitched that well to start off against Chris Sale. That is a big matchup, and like you said, Kluber and Carrasco, they're going to be fine. They're veterans, and everyone's saying Salazar, this is the year for him to take that like huge leap. Last year started in AAA, and that was kind of a shock to some people, but he really picked it up after that, and he had a good year last year, but people are saying this could be like a Cy Young year for him. I like what he showed in the third game of the year, so I'm excited about that. Something I do want to talk about, though, dealing with Cody Anderson and Josh Tom a little bit is the guy they beat out for the starting spot is Trevor Bauer. We've only seen him twice so far, and obviously looked pretty bad his first time out, late against the Red Sox, gave up a home run to Poppy. But I think he looked pretty darn good against the White Sox in his last one. And like I said before, it's just fastball command. It's all about the mentality for Bauer. He clearly has the stuff. Do you have any take on what Bauer should do in the bullpen, or do you think he's going to make his way out of it? Because I see him, as long as he focuses on just having a few pitches instead of trying to be like a Yu Darvish-like pitcher, having like 8 or so pitches. I think if he just has like a fastball, a changeup, and maybe fastball, one good breaking ball, and a changeup, he can really be an effective reliever and maybe even eventually work his way out like Carlos Carrasco did.
He's definitely not going to in the bullpen role. He's definitely can't be using a lot of pitches, but whether or not he's going to go down that route remains to be seen, because he's very much Trevor Bauer. He is his own person. He goes to the beat of his own drum. He's going to do what he wants to do, and I really like Bauer. I think that he will at some point get another opportunity in the rotation, when that is. I mean, it'll remain to be seen. I don't know if it'll be dictated on an injury or ineffectiveness, or if he'll do what kind of Carrasco did and kind of, perform to the point where it's like, okay, I think we need to give this guy another shot. If anything, I think he in this role, it's going to be a little bit different. I think you have to work with him because he takes a lot of time to warm up. I mean, just as a starter in general, but he's got that whole routine that he goes through. So I think he was this last time he was out, he was warming up well before he was actually put into the game. So I think that he needs some time to kind of figure out how his routine is going to translate into this new role. Because I mean, I think that all plays into the performance or the effectiveness of a pitcher, especially with somebody like him. But again, I don't know what'll end up dictating another opportunity for him, if one is. But I think for now, with the role that he's in, he needs some time to kind of adapt to that and maybe get some consistency. And I think also to find out, at least from Francona's perspective, how he's going to use him, because, he could use him in several different ways. If he wants to use him in those high leverage situations and kind of like a Zach McAllister and someone who can, go a few innings, but also be used late in the game, where the stuff plays up a little bit more, or does he kind of start him off in those situations where maybe they're behind, or maybe they're ahead with a good lead and it's early in the game? So I think a couple of those factors will play into kind of how it moves forward here with Bauer in the pen.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And just to finish off that, I do think he will get a shot in their rotation at some point this year, because there's always somebody that falters or gets injured or something. There's always like Carrasco got an opportunity and no one thought that was going to happen that same year. So as long as Bauer keeps his head about him, really embraces the role in the bullpen, I think he can work out there and do well, and maybe get a shot in the rotation later, because he has the stuff, and as long as he has the mentality, he can be a good starter, and he's shown that at points. And something you touched on there a little bit I want to talk about was where you use him. And obviously Cody Allen's locked down as the closer. We only have one lefty right now, Ross Detweiler. I'm not happy about that. I would love to see Kyle Crockett, but as far as where you use people, Brian Shaw's been the eighth inning guy for a while now, and he really struggled against the White Sox. And stuff has been coming out this whole spring training about how much Tito has used Cody Allen and Shaw the last couple of years. And starting to think about it, and I was watching the game the other day, and while Shaw's velocity was not down at all, he was still throwing mid-90s, which is impressive to see for him. I like his velocity, but he just was not locating. He wasn't attacking the hitter as much as he usually does. Do you think that their usage over, like they're the top two guys as far as relievers goes for appearances over the past 2 years. Do you think that's going to start to wear on him a little bit, or do you think that's just a blip in the radar for Shaw?
I don't know if usage has anything to do with it in terms of Shaw. Just in general, I just get very nervous anytime he comes into the game. He just doesn't seem to have the same, consistency that he did a few years ago. There was times last year that he would come in and everything, kind of, as you would expect, and then there was just those times where you didn't know what you were going to get out of him. And it's kind of already happened. He came in, earlier in the week, did a good job, and then this last time out against Chicago, it just was not pretty. So I don't know what the factor is. Like you said, he hasn't really lost anything off the fastball in terms of his velocity. So I don't know if usage plays into the issues with Bryan Shaw, or maybe it does. I don't know. It just in general, regardless of anything, him in that spot and being the guy that kind of bridges the gap between, a starter, if for the most part, if they're going 7 and Cody in the 9th, makes me a little hesitant. So I guess that my preference would be him not being in those situations. I think in general, just settling on one guy in the 8th inning is a bad idea. Even in the 9th, for the most part, I kind of like going with the guys that are going to get you the outs and whatever the situation dictates. So I guess my preference would be to see McAllister in more of those high leverage situations where, regardless of if it's in the 6th or the 8th, when you need an out and the game's on the line, you go to him rather than you go to someone like Bryan Shaw. Like you, having just one left-handed guy in the bullpen is a little worrisome, especially when it's not Crockett. I think a lot of people kind of following the team was hoping that it was going to be Crockett just to get another opportunity. I think he's deserving of that, deserving more of a consistent chance than he has in the past to kind of be that guy. But I think at some point we'll probably see him. It's bullpens are ever changing, especially early on. You got to kind of find what works. And again, I think my preference would be to see McAllister kind of be that sort of next in line after Allen as the most important piece of that pen and getting those opportunities.
Yeah, I'm with you as far as Z-Mac. I've never been a big McAllister guy, but I've started to really look in depth at his stats last year. And even this year, he's looked pretty solid to start off the year. And again, it's only a few games, but he has looked good. I like to see him more. And something you said there was not have one definite guy, but have just somebody in the high leverage situations. I like that too. Whether that be Z-Mac, Shaw a little bit. I like the addition of Dan Otero. He's looked pretty solid. And even like we were talking about before, Trevor Bauer, if he figures something out there, uses that fastball to his advantage, I think he can be solid there. I just want to transition for a second here to the offense, and something that has been a big topic as far as spring training has gone with Michael Brantley not being in the lineup. The lineup is going to look a lot different. Where's Kipnis going to hit? Where's Lindor going to hit? Where's the new additions of the offseason going to hit? And the only thing I was really worried about was I wanted to keep Kipnis in the leadoff spot because I'm a big believer in where people or players hit a lot differently depending on the spot they're in. People press if they're in the 3 and 4 hole when they're not a true cleanup hitter or 3 hitter, which I don't think Kipnis is. I think he's much better suited in the 1 or 2 spot, and he hit unbelievable last year when he was in the leadoff role. And I know something you want to talk about is Tyler Naquin not playing or playing at all, and just your take on the lineup as a whole. It's been switching a lot. We started off the first game with Davis first, Kipnis second, Lindor third, but those 3 seem to be interchanging a lot. Anything you've seen from Tito's decisions on the lineup so far?
Yeah, I hate to be one of those people that early on is questioning or wondering what Tito's doing with his lineups, but because I know it's very much a feeling out process, and he's trying to find the combo that works. But I don't particularly like Davis up at the top. I just think that it's more suited if he's lower in the lineup in that 9 spot when he is playing. Um, I I preferably don't. I don't have like a real preference in terms of where Kipnis hits. I think, however it shakes out, if he's in the 1 hole or he's in the 3 hole, um, I think until Brantley comes back, whatever Tito ends up doing there, it seems to be it'll be fine. I think my preference would be him hitting third rather than first, just because that would mean you're putting Lindor down in third, and kind of that's a lot of pressure to put on a young kid who is really handled every obstacle thus far. But I just think that starting him out, hitting him first rather than having him have to hit right in the middle of the order where you know teams are probably not going to pitch to him the same way as if they would him being first. I think that would probably be my preference, at least until Brantley gets back. I I love Jose Ramirez. I'm a big fan. I'm on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
So if he's playing, I would honestly hit him up top of the lineup, second spot. So I think that would obviously impact kind of what you do with some of those other pieces. But I think probably my biggest thing is, so whatever Tito ends up doing, I think the only thing that I don't really agree with is Davis hitting that high. I think more suited to hit much lower in the lineup.
And then specifically on the outfield, he didn't want to start Naquin, obviously, game one, because it's a lefty on lefty matchup. It's Price, it's opening day, all that. I understand that. But when you start to mix in at bats here for Naquin against lefties, because he does, Tito loves his platoons, lefty and righty matchups, rather than lefty matchups. He loves doing that. And I like Davis. I think he's a solid player. I love Ramirez too. I like him in left, but I like what Naquin can do. I love what he did in spring training. He plugs the gaps very well. I think he's a solid defender, other than that one play where him and Jose couldn't really see the ball apparently in left field. That's just a thing that you have to look past there. But as far as Calgill playing, he's one of the guys I'm already tired of. I love to see Naquin play as much as he can. If it's against a Chris Sale, yeah, I understand that. But if it's against like a Jose Quintana, like somebody who's supposed to pitch today, would you play Naquin, or would you still try to play him only against righties?
Boy, I don't know. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't really want to see Calgill out there. So if Calgill is getting starts over Naquin, then that's obviously not something that's preferred. I'd throw him in there against a couple lefties. I mean, at this point, it's only a matter of time before Chisenhall and Brantley get back. So why not? I'm guessing based off the trade that we talked about earlier, and then just kind of the usage thus far. I don't think Naquin is going to stick around, which is kind of disappointing because in terms of options in the outfield and center field, he's the best one. Davis is okay, but Naquin is a much better defender, and if he goes down, then you're looking at Davis kind of starting full time in center, and that's a little bit of a scary proposition. And then I think it's going to take Jose Ramirez some time to kind of warm up to the outfield. So getting him getting him a lot of start. I wouldn't test him in center quite yet. I don't think he's ready. So, I mean, then you're looking at him as kind of like your fourth outfielder in some ways, even when Brantley comes back. So I think I would really prefer them hold on to Naquin, but just based off some of the moves, it seems like, and the usage thus far, it seems like they're going to probably call him down because, I mean, you look at who's in Columbus right now. I think they kind of would rather have Naquin starting more full time based off who's there. You got guys like Butler and Grossman. With Ramsey and Walters gone, that kind of opens up a more regular spot down there. And I think that's kind of the game plan. I hope I'm wrong, but I would like to see Naquin a little bit more again, because he's really your best defensive center fielder.
Yeah, I love Naquin, and I like his defense, but I think he still needs some more refinement. And the Indians love getting some young guys some at bats. I like the idea at first of Gio Urshela in AAA. I think him and Naquin do need some more at bats, get some confidence down there. So I think Naquin will get sent down. But as far as the third base position goes, I was not a fan of Jose or Juan Uribe, excuse me, in the first place. So didn't really like him coming in. Not impressed me so far, especially defensively. Remember in 2014 and early last year, Lonnie at third. I'm a huge Lonnie fan, but every time he fielded a ground ball, I would hold my breath because I had no idea where the ball was going. And Uribe starting to short arm these throws. I really do not like him defensively. He loves a fastball, but in a lineup like this where there's not many guys ahead of you that are very solid, he's not going to get many fastballs. So Tito sent out a lineup today that had Jose Ramirez hitting or playing third. I like that idea. Obviously, we're both fans of Ramirez. He's been doing pretty solid so far. Do you see that as a lineup that Tito could keep throwing out there? Or do you see Uribe staying there and Urshela staying in AAA?
I think that'll probably be the plan of attack for a little while, in terms of Urshela staying down. And I think Ramirez needs to play almost on a close to regular basis. Doesn't have to play in each spot, and that's kind of the beauty of it. So I would make sure that he's in the lineup more times than not. And if that's at the expense of Uribe, not playing every day, I would be okay with that. If a majority of Ramirez rather starts came from third base, I think that would be the way to go. Uribe's a veteran, so I think he's used to sort of, he's played in the National League, so he's used to kind of filling that non-everyday role. So if that's the case, and he's struggling, I don't think there's anything wrong with that sort of plan of attack, that kind of arrangement, at least early on. Until you get to a point where you're like, okay, maybe we'll give him more of a full-time shot. And if he proves that he can get, and I know it's hard to be consistent when you're not playing consistently, but kind of straightens everything up. If he straightens everything up, or you eventually get to a point where like, all right, let's see what Urshela has got after some time in AAA.
Yeah, I like that. I agree with everything you said there, actually. And something I want to hit on a little bit, not Indian specific, but it's a sliding rule that's been started off this year, and it's been a huge talking point around the league, especially after the game in Tampa Bay where Toronto lost because of a slide. And it's basically the one in Toronto, or the one in Tampa Bay, excuse me, where Bautista slid in the second base. He basically just tapped the leg of I'm not sure if it was second baseman or shortstop, whoever was turning the double play during the first, and they called him out, and that actually ended the game. There's a few other instances around the MLB where this happened. I just want to hear what you think about this new sliding rule, if it should be changed at all, because I did think there needed to be a change after that slide last year with Utley, but then after watching some slides that happened in the 70s and 80s, as people have been showing this whole offseason, that slide with Utley's not that bad. It's kind of a freak thing where Tejada just kind of snapped his leg. So I want somewhere in between, where it's in between the Utley and Tejada slide last year in the playoffs, and in between what's going on now, where if you don't slide to the base and stop perfectly, you're called out. And it seems over the top to me now. Do you like it the way it is now, or the way it is before, or somewhere in between?
I'd probably agree with you. I think I get what they're trying to do. You're trying to make the game safe. You don't want guys to get hurt. They did that last year with the collision, home plate collision rule. I think part of it is we got to give people time, both the players and the umpires, time to kind of figure out how it's going to work. How does this rule translate to play? How's it called? How does a player adjust? I think it's hard to, you're sliding. It's hard to, you can control yourself somewhat, but it's kind of hard to stop on a dime unless you like pop up or something. I don't know. I think maybe give it some time to kind of let everything work itself out and see how players see how it's called and how they can adjust to not, getting situations where they're getting called out. Yes, I want people to be safe as well, but I think injuries happen, and if you're in a position as a fielder and you're in a wrong position, and it just so happens that someone comes in and they make a sudden movement, or you make a sudden movement, like you said, that stuff happens. It's part of the game. I think as long as Major League Baseball is doing their best to keep people safe, they're doing all they can do. But the players as well, they got to kind of be careful and play hard and be aggressive, but also just kind of look out for each other and not do something that would jeopardize somebody else's career or playing time. But then you also kind of have to, again, sort of look at the rule and see if it's working after a while, or if it's something that needs to get adjusted.
Yeah, this is one of those rules like the ones implemented a few years back, like the home plate sliding, the one after the Buster Posey injury. Ones you can change
Right.
after a little bit. You can just see how they're working out. The one I do not like, though, I just want to finish off on this, is the clock where a pitching coach or manager can go to the mound for only 30 seconds. But sometimes when they get to the mound, they only have like 15 seconds already because the clock starts immediately. I think this one's ridiculous. I did not mind it before when the umpire came and talked to them and said, okay, let's break it up here. Do you think this one is I know the MLB wants to speed up the game, attract a new younger audience because the game is too slow, in quotation marks, but I think this one, first of all, will not save much time from the game. Second of all, is unneeded, and it does not give the manager and pitching coach appropriate time because some of these guys are old guys who have been around the game for 60 years who take 20 seconds to walk to the mound. So they have no time to talk to their pitchers anyway. Do you like that one, or what? How do you feel on that one?
I hate it. I hate clocks in the game of baseball. It's not a timed game. The only thing you should really be timing, I guess, maybe is whether or not somebody has the ability to challenge a play. I think that's honestly really the only thing that a clock should ever be involved with. That and the first base coach having a stopwatch to clock stuff. I just get it out. I don't like it. I think that it's really unnecessary. I think, like you said, the game, it's not going to make all that much of a difference. The game is the game. Have any Yankee Red Sox game seems to go 4 hours regardless of anything. So it's just, what are you going to do? It seems really ridiculous that, you're timing how long you have to go out to talk. It's part of the game. It's just get rid of the clocks. Let managers take whatever time they need. Let the umpires kind of enforce the like the walk out to the mound and kind of give them the hint, like, okay, you need to wrap it up. Let them do what they've been doing. I don't like clocks in the game, and especially here, I think it's silly. I don't think you need to speed the game up, like you said, for a better audience. I think it's halfway ridiculous. I would get rid of them.
Completely agree. But I think you said it's not a time game. Stop trying to put clocks in it. I love that. And I think we're about good for today. Nino, thank you for joining me again. Follow Nino Cola on Twitter at SnarkyNino. I'm Noah Gross. Follow me on Twitter at Noah_Gross27. Nino writes for Everybody Hates Cleveland. Check all his stuff out there. Good writer. I write for It's Pronounced Lajoie, and I'm doing podcasts for Tribe Time Now. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and go Tribe.